Hi everybody. In this video, we're going to be talking about ordering and rounding decimals, which is in unit 3.1.2. And the first thing we're going to talk about is just strategies for comparing our decimals. And so one option is to just use a number line. So we can use a number line to assist us. So let me write this in. We can use a number line to assist with comparing decimals, just as you did with whole numbers. So like if we had 3.2 and 3.12 and 3.341 and 3.02. So if we're doing like something like that, well, we would see that all of the threes are exactly the same. And so then in my brain, I started sorting them out based on what the tens place was. And so here it's 0 and then 1 and then 2 and then 3. And then from there, like if any of them had the same tens place, then we would look at, well, then what's the hundredths place? So for example, maybe I put another one in here and it was 3.1. And so the 3.1 would fit right in here because it's essentially like there's a 0 behind that, right? And so 10 is less than 12. And so the 3.1 would be less than the 3.12. And so that's where it's talking about like thinking about putting it on a number line. If we were to kind of just sort these out on a number line, that could be a tool that might help you. You can also just compare decimals beginning with their digits from left to right, which is what I just showed you there too when I was kind of underlining things with the black and then the orange pen. So from left to right. So when two digits are not equal, the one with the greater digit is the larger number. So on these, I want you guys just to go through 1 through 4 and either write in the less than symbol, the greater than symbol, or the equals to symbol. Again, remember that the alligator opens up and it eats the larger value. So, you know, some of my students are like, Liz, haven't you ever been taught this? You put teeth in here and that's like the alligator eating the larger value. I'm sorry to say that my elementary teacher never taught me that. We just talked about how like it would open up and the larger side of that inequality symbol was opening up to the larger value. And so that's how we talked about it. But if you want to do the alligator symbols, go for it. My kids also, I've not seen this one. I kind of liked this one. They do a Pac-Man. So they do like this, and then they'll draw the rest of the Pac-Man like that, which I think is also super fun. So, okay, we've got 35.689 and 35.679. And if you are, again, comparing just from left to right, we're looking at the digits and we're also looking at where the decimal point is. So right now the decimal points line up perfectly. And I've seen it too, where people will line up the numbers vertically, 6, 8, 9. And then we do 35.679. And so 3 and 3 are the same, 5 and 5 are the same, 6 and 6 are the same. The decimals are lined up. If the decimals weren't lined up, that'd be a problem. Like that would be the thing that we would look at to say which number is larger than the other. But then right here, the 8 is bigger than the 7. So the 35.689 is going to be bigger than the 35.679. And again, I know I'm going through this in more detail. Some of you might already be through this, and that's great. Again, this is just one of those skills. Sometimes some folks haven't done this in a long time, and the rest of you are like beating your heads against the wall, like, when are we going to get past this? Really soon. We're going to be through the more basic topics. All right, so the next one, 45.67 versus 45.76. Right here, we're looking at the 6 and the 7, the decimals lined up. So the 76 is larger than the 67. Then here, we're looking at the fact that this is like 5.678 versus 5.6. You can even think about it being zeros behind there. So then you're comparing 678 versus 600. Which one's bigger? The 678 is bigger. Then the next one, if you look at the digits are exactly the same. It's 56789, 56789. But guess what? The decimals are not in the same spot. So it's 56.789 versus 5.6789. And so the 5 point is obviously much smaller than the 56 point something. All right, so then we talk about rounding decimals. Rounding decimals. So we are going to round, rounding with decimals is rounding with decimals is like rounding with whole numbers. As with whole numbers, you are going to round a number to a given place value. Everything to the right of the given place value becomes 0. Everything to the right of the given place value becomes 0. And the digit in the given place value either stays the same or it's going to increase by 1 based on what the digit to the right says to do. If the digit to the right is in between 0 to 4, inclusive, meaning it's including the 0 and the 4, the digit will stay the same. If the digit to the right is between 5 to 9, inclusive, again, it means it's including the 5, it's including the 9, the digit will round up by 1. Well, what does that mean? I'm gonna show you. So if we come down here, example number 1, it says round 7.354 to the nearest hundredths. So we're rounding it to the nearest hundredths place. So what I want you to do, this is how you show your work on these, because most of you can probably do this all in your head, but this is how you have to communicate to me on paper and on a test or a quiz that you know exactly how to do this skill. So I want you to underline the hundredths place or underline the place that it's asking you to round to. So round to the nearest hundredth. So we're underlining the hundredths, which is the 5. Who do we look at? We look to the digit to the right. So we're looking to the next door neighbor, which is 4. And because it's in between 0 and 4, it tells the digit to stay the same. It tells the 5 to stay the same. And so we would round this and we would put, okay, we're going to round that. And that is approximately 7.35. Then let's look at number 2. It says round 7.354 to the nearest tenth. So this time underline the tenths place. So we're going to underline the tenths. We look to the next door neighbor and it's a 5. So the 5 tells the 3 to round up by 1. So it's going to be 7.4. And I'm going to put the approximate signs in there. And then it says round 7.354 to the nearest whole number. So if I'm rounding it to the nearest whole number, here's my whole number. I'm looking to the 3, and we are going to end up getting approximately 7. And if you want to, you can even put the decimal there, because what that's telling your reader is that you actually rounded to the nearest whole number. And then for our next one, it says round this number to the nearest hundredths. So if I'm rounding it to the nearest hundredth, so tenths, hundredths, I'm looking at the 3. And we're looking to the next door neighbor. And that 7 tells a 3 to go up by 1. So it's going to be 1,295.64. And again, that's approximate. And then we're going to look at number 5. And again, here I would pause the video. I would finish out the problems and see how you do. And I'm going to go ahead and go through these, but I want you guys to pause it and I'm going to finish answering them. And then I want you guys to check your answers with the answers that I'm coming up with here. All right, so it says round this number to the nearest 10. So if we're rounding it to the nearest tens place. So here's the ones, here's the tens. That 5 tells that 9 to go up by 1. And so if that 9 goes up by 1, it's going to go to 0. I mean, essentially what you're looking at is this 29. So that 29 becomes a 30. And then I can't just put nothing where that 5 is, it's also going to become a 0 to hold that place value. Excuse me. So this one ends up becoming 1,300. So it's approximately 1,300. Then our next one, it says round this number to the nearest 100. So rounding it to the nearest 100, we look to the next door neighbor. That 9 tells that 2 to go up by 1. And it's going to be not just 13, it's got to be 1,300 to hold the place value up to that decimal point. Okay. All right. The next one, it says round this number to the nearest 10th. The nearest 10th. So here's our 10th place. Look to the next door neighbor. The 3 tells the 6 to stay right where it's at. 1,295.6 is going to be our answer for this one. And then the last one, it says round to the nearest 1,000. 10th, 100th, 1,000. Round to the nearest 1,000. Look to the 4. The 4 tells the 7 to stay right where it's at. So it's going to be 1,295.6